BubbleBoy is a visual-based script worm that has a quite unique way to spread itself through email, which doesn't require opening an attachment. Let's say you get an email from someone and you try to open it. At this moment, it won't run due to security measures, which I'll try to explain later. There's a link to the webpage that contains few photos and sound recordings from Seinfeld TV show. More precisely, it's mostly based on 47th episode called The BubbleBoy from season 4. To give it a bit of more context, I can also open up Wikipedia and maybe describe the actual plot, or at least the incident. So George with his girlfriend Susan visits Donald, the boy who is inside of the bubble. Let me also play maybe one sample.
This is Donald.
Hi.
Hello.
Who are you? Where's Seinfeld?
He's on his way. These are his friends.
What are you looking at? Ever seen a kid in a bubble before?
So they start to play Trivial Pursuit while waiting for Jerry and Elaine to arrive. Donald behaves like a prick for most of the time, and George gets revenge with the question called "Who invaded Spain in the 8th century?" So this will be this part.
In the 8th century.
That's a joke. The Moors.
Oh no. I'm so sorry, it's the moops. The correct answer is the moops.
Moose. Let me see that.
So yeah, the code was misprinted as the answer was the moops instead of the Moors. So it goes on.
That's not moops, you jerk. It's Moors. It's a misprint.
I'm sorry, the card says moops.
It doesn't matter. It's Moors. There's no moops.
It's moops.
Moors.
Moops.
Moors.
Okay, so a bit later, Donald starts strangling him. Susan tries to defend George, but she accidentally pops the bubble. The bubble boy collapses, and the whole town is on a rampage at some point. So you'll get it at this point.
So your friend here tried to kill me.
Oh, he's a lying little snot, and he's a cheater, aren't you, you little twerp?
More! Moops! More! Moops! More! Moops! That's the guy who tried to kill the bubble boy! Get him!
Yeah, I think that's enough. So just look up online for the actual video footage about this. We'll get back to the worm demonstration. So you can also take note that the page was also updated to include the warning about the worm. So it has come to my attention that some nefarious netizen has been distributing a BubbleBoy virus. While I relish the attention that this has brought to my page, I certainly had nothing to do with this stupidity. People have enough problems with their PCs and Microsoft products, even to this day, without me adding to them. So Microsoft has also put a patch in this case, but we'll skip that and we'll use some other link in this case. But just to note, so how is the worm actually able to use scripts in this case? Just like opening this, it already runs a script. So in this case, we'll check out the Microsoft Security Bulletin, which should be in here. Yeah, I think that's it. And we'll get some overview about it. So there are two activate controls that the security patch should fix in this case. So we have script type lib, which is for generating type libraries for Windows script components, and idog for collecting hardware information. Both of these controls were marked as safe for scripting at that time. So let me just show you the section for this into the options for the zone in this case. So in here we have not marked as safe and safe for scripting. Controls marked as safe in this case shouldn't be able to perform any action that could cause damage to the system, but both of these controls can cause damage. In this case, script type lib allows changing and deleting files, while idog allows fetching information from the registry, along with possible exploit of running arbitrary code. The worm in this case is using script type lib to drop a copy of itself into a starter folder when you open the email message. User won't be warned about this as controls that are safe for scripting are usually allowed by default in this case. Even though in my case this is already patched to be marked as not safe, as in here it's set to be disabled, and that's why it actually won't run the worm at this point. So the patch itself revokes the safe for scripting tag for the first control and prevents the usage of the second control in Internet Explorer. So we are only going to use the first one in this case. So you've probably seen the message box that warns about controls not being safe. Once again, that's the message. So in this case, it's still possible to run the worm if we actually allow the unsafe controls to be executed. So in here we can actually set it to prompt and apply the changes. So at this point, when we try to reopen it, you get an actual prompt asking you to allow the interaction or not. Before we actually allow it, we can actually check out the startup folder, which is the location where the worm will drop itself. So when you pick yes, the worm is in here now. Now in this case, even if we allowed the interaction, this will just drop an HTML file. It actually won't do any changes to the system yet. So at this point, it's only scheduled to be run on next reboot because it's in startup folder in this case. So to explain how this worm actually works, we'll have to extract it and decoding using the script. I'll just show it in a moment. This one at least. But before we actually do that, we actually have to extract it. Extract it by using the, well, basically Notepad and take out the encoded code. So as you can see, the code itself is basically HTML without, well, kinda to say. It's actually an HTML application. So basically a mix of HTML and some application parts like maybe this, but usually we can just remove most of the parts as we only need this to be set. Now we'll save it as text file. This should be sufficient. Now in here we get to the documents, we get the file, and now we finally get to the code. So you might be able to see that most of the variables in here are mostly referencing Seinfeld show itself. And now the script should also drop the file in my documents folder. So this is the actual script, and we'll try to explain it in here, part by part at least. So first of all, it will replace Windows registration info to BubbleBoy, aka the Donald the Frick, as the owner, and Vandelay Industries, aka a fictional latex sales company, as the organization. If the infection flag already exists at this point, it will stop. Otherwise, it will send a copy of the message we received to all contacts from the address book as blind carbon copy to avoid recipients seeing each other's email addresses. The message body is filled with the usual text, but it also embeds two scriptlet controls and the script itself. You can see those in here. Those are the two. So the first one, named Vandelay, is used for English version of Windows. As you can see, that it should be based on this English part. And the second one, which is actually named by a nickname of Yev Kasem, aka the immigrant chef in the show. I'm not going to say the actual name at this point, but the Spanish version in this case is using the following part in this case, as you can see. So these controls are used to write the script into startup folder in start menu, which we have seen at this point. And finally, as it gets sent, it will also add a flag in the registry indicating that it has infected this system. You also take note that this is a variant A of this worm, so it won't work on NT versions of Windows. There's also variant C that spreads over Internet Relay Chat, aka IRC, using Merc script, but I don't have the sample of it right now, so we're going just with variant A in this case. So we'll open up Outlook and System Properties, so I can actually demonstrate this. So in here we'll actually get the email being sent. The system properties should have the registration data changed. And then just for registry editor, we should be able to see what's actually being updated in here. I think this is the correct location, but let me just check for a moment. Yeah, local machine, software, Outlook, BubbleBoy. So that's going to be the location where the worm will actually add an infection flag. So now the only thing that remains is to run the worm. We run it, and now we get an error message, basically quick error message saying system error, delete update HTA from the startup folder to solve this problem. And that's basically the worm itself to be deleted in this case. Now we can see the email message being sent in here. Well, not yet sent, it's still in the outbox. Now if we try to reopen the system properties, we can see that it's registered to BubbleBoy, Vandelay Industries. And then in here, we should be able to see, not yet, hold on a sec, let's refresh. Now we get the BubbleBoy infection flag in here. Outlook BubbleBoy 11 by Zulu. Now at this point, we'll send a message. And now John should be able to get it at this point. And now we get the same prompt again. So yeah, that's basically the whole, overview of the worm at this point. So this worm managed to get some attention as it didn't require opening attachment, and it was one of the first email worms using zero-click attacks. Even though we actually get the prompt in this case. So how about changing that? So let's just reopen the internet settings, set it to enabled, even though this is kind of dangerous, but let's just show it as a demonstration. At this point, it will actually drop the file itself. So let's remove the old one, and now let's try to open it. As we open the email, it dropped the worm itself again. Delete, open again, and yeah, that's it. Well, let me just give a minor note how much this gave attention at least. So there's also a CNN article in here that basically, described this worm as being like a proof of concept, being one of the first worms that didn't actually require opening attachment to infect the system. So basically you just have to open the email and you're infected, technically. The only note in here is that you actually have to delete this file before reboot, but otherwise you should be fine. And take note that this won't work on Windows 10 NT versions, so you're also safe in that case. But yeah, this is one of the first ones that were kind of giving some attention to the media in this case. So yeah, I think that's basically all about the worm in this case. So that's it, and bye.